Hello Instagram world. Hi. Hello, it's Maria from the Art Speaks Project. And here today on a Wednesday afternoon at around 5:30. Yes, Instagram and Facebook are both active and live. Hi. Thanks so much for being here. Okay, I see Instagram is still telling people that we're out here. Maybe Facebook is doing the same. We have an eyeball, so someone's watching on Facebook. Hello. Again, just to let folks know. Okay. So Instagram is telling me to hold on because they're telling more followers to join the video. So, for those of you already on, just to let you know, we're going to be here for about 2 hours, at least for sure on the Facebook side. On the Instagram side, we are going to take it an hour and then another hour, and we're going to have guests. We are live, I think. And we are going to have guests on the Instagram feed, so we'll go an hour with, and then Instagram kind of stops, and then we'll reload and bring our folks back on again if they'd like to. And we have today Will and Katie from Sault Museum, and they're going to have some artifacts, and we're just going to talk. And the theme for today, in light of just kind of everything that's been going on, right? I mean, quarantine because of a pandemic, emergency measures in the province that are slowly lifting here and there. Just, a lot of mixed emotions about that. And then we have protests, Black Lives Matter events that are happening around the world, first in the States, and then now Canada and around the world. And a lot of stuff that we're seeing, just a lot of stuff that's happening. It's really kind of like intense. Everything's pretty intense these days right now. We have murder hornets coming from the west coast. We have we were supposed to be hit with a cyclone today over Lake Superior. Our bedroom window got blown in and smashed all over everything. So that was exciting. And so I thought, you know what? We're going to talk about radical self-care. And you're thinking, oh, self-care, I know that. A little Epsom salt bath every so often, maybe some lovely essential oils to kind of get rid of the stress, that kind of thing. But really what I'm talking about is radical self-care. And this goes a little further than that. This goes a little deeper than that. This is a concept. It's been around for a while, but it was sort of brought into the political sphere by a black feminist activist, Audre Lorde, who said that self-care isn't something frivolous. It's an active act of resistance. And you might be sitting here thinking, wow, wait a minute, that just seems kind of extreme. But think about it for a minute. A lot of the folks who are perhaps the most in need of self-care are the nurturers, are the ones who are always caring after others, are the ones who are always doing for others, who are always helping others before themselves. And the premise being that just as if you're on a plane that was having problems, the adult in one seat, let's say next to a child. We don't put the oxygen mask on the child first, because you could lose consciousness. You put the oxygen mask on yourself to give yourself sustenance and air so that you can think clearly, so that you can then help the next person who is more vulnerable and in need of help, which might be the child next to you. So I know that's kind of simplistic, but the basic thing is you can't really help somebody else unless you've recharged your own batteries. And that goes deep. It's more than just, taking a walk every now and then or having a bath every now and then. It's actually focusing on just doing something a bit more focused for yourself, being a bit more in the present, maybe taking a look at your own reflections on situations that are happening around you, And art is a really good way of helping you focus that mindfulness. It's a really good way of helping us kind of be in a bit more meditative state. And it's a really wonderful way to help us be more present in our own bodies and attend to issues that might be cropping up within ourselves, especially as we sort of look at March, April, May, June, almost 4 months for some of us in isolation because of different issues. We are, faced with an uncertain future because of a virus that has more control over us than us over it. And then this all kind of leads into other issues, and so political unrest. And it's June, and June is typically Pride Month, at least it has been for the last 10, 15 years. And that was a struggle, born out of conflict and protest and hard, and won, so hard won. And it's also Indigenous History Month, which is another hard won success. So folks, especially women, I would like to sort of focus on here in this regard, because typically women tend to be the nurturers. You got to take care of yourselves before you're really able to give to a cause, to give to others, and to be, part of a bigger scene. So we just got here. I hope that's making sense. Hope it's not too preachy or anything kind of strange or weird. So I'm going to work on beading and wrapping and embroidery and show you a few things. And we have the museum, and you guys are sideways. I have no idea why. It's kind of cool in a way. So I'm gonna like do the funny thing with my tablet so you guys can see what's happening. There it is. That's better. I'm gonna do this so that you can see. There it is. So you guys can see the museum on the phone, and the phone is now gonna get moved so that you guys can actually, hey Yvonne, so you guys can actually see what the heck is going on here. And that way too you can see what's on the table, and you can see the folks at the museum. And yeah, so hopefully they've got some artifacts. Looks like they have some beaded work, some beaded embroidery type things. Pretty gorgeous. And I'm just going to work along with some beading and some different kinds of things here on the table. Every so often my cat might join in. It's hard to move him. He is 25 pounds. So that might be going on. And remind you that I'm in my kitchen, so you might hear the fridge open. You might hear just things happening, and that's fine. We are in a household in a kitchen. And okay, we now have, we have Katie, and we have Will smiling at us. Yes, across the distance. Hello everybody. Wave to our friends. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Will and Katie, and maybe, are you guys good to maybe kind of talk a little bit, Will, maybe about the beading especially, right? This whole idea too of slow work that you have to do in a very slow, methodical way, very mindful, very well constructed, because you are taking your time and you have something to say with it, that kind of idea. So, and we have a wonderful beader who's just joined us, Nikki from Olala. Thank you for joining us. So yeah, okay, Will, go for it. I will stop yabbering. Go. You kind of sound like you're at the bottom of a cup. So you might have to, is your volume all the way up on your phone? Could be the echo. Hello, lots of people joining too. It's really lovely. So our archives are always full of technical wonders and curiosities, and sometimes they work really well, and sometimes, like a few weeks ago, I lost all camera use. You guys saw me just doing weird stuff in the dark. So hopefully today, now that the storm is over and we've cleaned up the shards of glass from our broken window, we are able to focus. I saw that look, Will. Yes, our window smashed in this morning in the bedroom. No fun. Okay, now go for it. Let's see what happens.
Is this better? Can you hear me better?
Yeah, now you're better. Yeah, definitely. So hopefully folks on Facebook can hear. Okay, go for it.
So, hi from the museum. My name is Audre Lorde. I'm executive director and curator. And with me today we have our new outreach programming coordinator, Katie. So we've done a couple of these before, at least me and Maria, but this time as our new outreach programming coordinator, I really have Katie join us. So we grabbed a couple of facts from our collection. Stuff that we have. As Maria mentioned, we have some beadwork. We also pulled some embroideries, weaving, lots of fun stuff. So
Yeah.
that we have. We can kind of discuss it. If anyone has questions, we'll go through things. Feel free to ask as we're ready.
Perfect. Perfect. So, what do you have first to show us?
I'm going to get up.
Okay.
The camera.
Okay.
So one of the things I can show you is this beautiful beaded purse.
Oh, gorgeous. Gorgeous. Now that is absolutely wonderful. So, could you explain what is the fabric that the beading is on? Like what media, like what material has it been beaded onto?
So this one is on black velvet.
Gorgeous.
And then the back has a trade cloth.
Huh.
And then the beads themselves are glass seed beads. So they're called seed beads in reference to the size of the bead. It's similar to the size of a seed.
Yep, definitely.
And also some silk ribbon kind of decoration along the edge of it. It's in very fragile condition. I'm trying to show you the best I can.
Oh yeah, it's really showing up really well. It's beautiful. Nikki has just screamed out bead goals for herself, which I could see you doing this, Nikki, in no time for sure. And is it so? It's a purse that would actually okay. So it is open. It opens on some point. There we go. Okay.
It's like it's a pouch.
A pouch. Okay.
Held by a belt.
Right.
And then the back has a piece as well.
That's absolutely stunning. Really stunning. That's great. And is there any reference as to who would have used that? Who would have made it? Do we know?
I know the style of the beading and stuff itself is in the Ojibwe style.
Okay.
But in terms of who would have used it, I'm not entirely sure on that.
Okay.
I would assume someone would probably use it in the form of an adornment or something special, but
Sure.
That's just my assumption, just due to how beautiful it is.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. And there is something to be said, right, for surrounding oneself with beauty, especially in times of great distress or great challenge, right? Like to because we are very visual beings that and the aesthetics of things certainly speak to us and often give us comfort, right? Not saying the purse was made at a time of great upheaval or anything, but for us now to consider working on something of that scale, that would be quite a wonderful experience, I think.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a couple other things I can show you.
That'd be great.
For some inspiration.
Okay.
And then again, still remaining within an indigenous realm, we also have this cute little bird.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. That is amazing.
And then it opens. It's not very big.
How tiny. That is so incredibly tiny and really beautiful. Like, just how wonderfully constructed, and it has lasted. How many years would you give it?
This one is circa 1900, so
Whoa.
100 years.
Yeah, that is astonishing.
And this one I know has an interesting kind of story behind it. It was actually made by an Indigenous woman to give to Miss Vin Farmer. So Vin Farmer was a photographer, as you say, Marie, a while back, kind of one of the early ones.
Yeah.
So as kind of the Indigenous people would pick berries around her house, his wife would watch their children, so this was a gift to her from an Indigenous person.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
What a wonderful thing, and to know that she obviously cherished it, to keep it in such good condition all these years, and passed it down in the family, obviously, or some collector perhaps came upon it. That's a really wonderful piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite beautiful.
It is.
Especially for the
Yeah.
I also have another piece of beadwork. It's a little bit different. It's more of a sculptural type of beading. I hope your beadwork is around in 120 years too. Donate it to the museum and we'll take good care of it.
There you go, Nikki.
So the next thing I have isn't necessarily Indigenous. I think we're kind of walking into a more Victorian Edwardian realm of adornment and decoration and trying to always outdo one another. I know we talked a little bit about that in the last live we did.
Yeah, yeah.
But this one I thought was really kind of cool, especially due to the size of it. So it is a sculptural flower piece.
Wow. Well, that is really something. Wow, that is really quite a thing. Now, is it? I'm assuming wire base. Is that what we're dealing with? Do you think? Yeah.
All made out of really like that craft kind of wire.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a bit older, but
yeah. Still pretty dazzling, and looks like the beads might be very sparkly. Maybe they're faceted. Maybe they're cut on different angles.
yeah.
Yeah.
A couple different kinds. Let's see if I can get closer here.
Oh yeah. Those are lovely. And so again, it speaks to the amount of time, right? The fact that someone has squirreled away maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours, maybe more, over a few days, to sit and think and work, right? A lovely way to kind of just take time, take space for oneself. I think that's one of the most important things about self-care, is that it's one thing to go to a spa and have a facial or something, but it's not so much the facial that is the self-care, it's the actual carving out of time for oneself, right? To say that, yes, I am worth this time of self-care. And I think that's an important thing as well. That's lovely.
Absolutely. And when we think of like things historically, I think we joined in maybe a few minutes later. You were talking about how traditionally this would be like women's work, but again, it's created like self-care while it's work at the same time. I think that's how I feel.
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think there's a real intention to what folks are doing, and it's interesting, right? It kind of brings up the whole discussion between what is fine art, what is craft, what is utilitarian, what is strictly aesthetic, created for its aesthetics or emotional impact, that kind of idea. And I think as we sort of get further away from those really cut and dry kind of definitions, and in contemporary times, we realize that artists reflect the times that we live in, right? And so it may take all different types of processes for us to create that reflection. And I'm not really so sure that the hard and fast differentiation between what is art and what is craft really is held to as strongly as perhaps it used to be, right? A lot of artists kind of go over the boundary, which makes the artwork that much more interesting at times. What else do you have for us?
So I'm just reading this comment.
Oh.
It's quite impressive.
Self-care. Eating has helped me change. Ah, yes, Nikki. Yes, I'm so very glad for you that you found beading, and it's and that it has in fact given you that opportunity to reflect and grab a hold of intention and mindfulness, right? Thank you. You are, you really are living it. So thank you so much for that. And the work you do, Nikki, is really gorgeous. So folks, if you don't mind me sort of blatantly promoting you here, but if you go on Instagram and look for Olala, Ollalola, you'll see some really wonderful beadwork, and on birch bark too, which is really quite no easy feat, that Nikki has been working on and has been creating, and just awesome stuff. So thank you for being here and for letting us know how important it has proven to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A couple other things I can show you and
Sure.
share with you. Moving a little bit away from beading, but still in that realm of that, like
Okay.
down and kind of we're meditating, kind of in the process of working.
Okay.
So something else we have is embroidery. Everyone knows embroidery.
Nice.
How big.
Oh, lovely.
We have this piece, a very floral depiction. A lot of the work focuses on florals and floral patterns, especially in the Victorian age. We're looking at trying to make things beautiful and really bring nature from the outside.
Right.
That's why I see couches with floral patterns or lots of tablecloths, napkins.
And that piece you just shared with us, what would that be? Would that be a pillowcase? Would it be a table runner?
It's a table.
Like a cloth, like a
Yeah.
right. Oh, okay. In the corners, yes. So the so it might be like on a smallish table that you might put a vase of flowers on or something like that, perhaps, or a nightstand, perhaps.
Yeah, I could say like a stuffed table or a
Right.
tea table.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah. And so, how old would that be? Do you figure?
This one I was thinking is quite as old. I said this is probably like more modern of a piece.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like 50s or 60s.
Oh, okay. Very good.
But harkening back to that that style and that craft
Right.
art element.
Right. Yep. And again, a very meticulous piece, right? So again, as we talk about intention and mindfulness, right? This is where these practices take us to, right? You can't just rush through something like that. You have to really plan it out, take your time, and be committed to the project as a whole, which has its own benefits, obviously. And when we're talking about radical self-care, that is an aspect, right, of helping ourselves focus more and be more present and kind of shut out all the noise of the world around us while we focus on something that feeds us, right? That's the whole point. Feeds our souls. That's why folks make art in the first place, I think, often.
Absolutely. And along with the meticulousness of it, like the front is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
You get it here.
Yeah.
But even finishing on the back, those big
Woo.
dots.
They're very tidy. Like that is a very tidy. Like just for an example, this is one that I started a long time. Like we're talking a couple of years. That then it got hidden in a box somewhere. But the back, not so tidy. So that piece that piece you're showing us is great. Like that person was very economical with their work, like with their thread, and maybe they had to be very economical with their thread. And so that takes a lot of planning. It really does. to make sure you have enough that will last.
So, what else? I don't have a specific example with me, but another type of embroidery that you usually see is that Danish full thread embroidery, which is usually like your lace, edge tablecloths or your doilies or things like that.
Oh, so that's Danish. Okay. I did not know.
I think it harkens back to the style. I was doing a bit of reading on it.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's based on the Danish style and design.
Okay.
Of it.
Very cool. And
You
so,
also see cutwork embroidery, so that's the one where you have like the pieces missing out of the fabric and then they've been embroidered.
yes, right. So you have like petals of flowers that aren't there, but the edges are embroidered, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So I have a picture example, like similar to that.
Right. That my mother came from Italy back in I think it was '58, and in order for when she got married, she actually had to create, I think, a set of pillowcases at the very least with her initials and my father's, and had to use that type of process where you would pick out threads and then sort of bundle up a few of the threads in different areas, like a lace-like kind of technique. Amazing, yeah. Yeah, that is gorgeous. That is really, really gorgeous. Ooh, someone just joined us and we're waving. That is really great. Yeah.
Other thing we have is one piece here. I'm not entirely sure what the style is, but I just thought it was too beautiful and fair, and it kind of follows the same aspect. So we got a tablecloth,
right?
but it's cut applique that's been embroidered onto it, and again,
yes,
cut away.
Yeah. Now that is a very, very conscientious work. Very gorgeous. Yeah.
And meticulous on the back.
Very, very clean, very tidy, very skilled, right? It speaks to someone who has spent many, many hours figuring this out. And I do find that there's kind of like a contemporary renaissance for all these types of processes these days, where folks are realizing the whole benefit to slowing down and creating art pieces that sort of transport them to another plane where they're actively engaged in what they're doing, and a project can take weeks, if not months, sometimes to complete. And sort of the whole delaying of gratification, which is, I think, an interesting thing in our current time frame, where everybody wants everything right away, kind of thing, right? Where everything is fast, and expendable, and so it's wonderful that the handiwork, I guess is what we can call it, is sort of seeing a resurgence.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example of that. You see a lot of people doing knitting right now.
Sorry? A lot of people
are thinking of knitting or going knitting
or
back or something that's a lot happening right now.
Well, we just lost you. But I wonder too, so I was just thinking when the whole pandemic was called and emergency measures were put in place, so we're talking that second week in March 17th, 18th, 19th, that kind of thing. The first thing I thought of was, well, I'm going to have to start some knitting. And there's been research and articles on knitting, and knitting is very much a self-soothing method of working. It's also a way of sort of calming sort of like the hyperactive nervous system, so that you're able to concentrate and attend and kind of block out all the noise that's happening. And certainly at the beginning of this whole quarantine time, it was a lot of noise, right? There's a lot of uncertainty and that sort of thing. And we seem to have weathered it fairly well, hopefully. So it is interesting, that thread work, knitting, yarn, that kind of thing. And even the piece I'm working on here, this is just a wrapping project, right? I've got hemp cord, and I'm just wrapping it, making a stronger, different kind of cord using cotton embroidery thread. And there's something really satisfying in using color and the repetitive wrapping motion. It has a really nice way of sort of, our window blew in this morning, which was a very stressful thing. So this has been a really good way to kind of sort of just kick that stress in the butt and calm down, right? So to bring it down a notch. That's kind of the idea. So and sort of like doodling with thread while you were talking, which is, I think, helpful to the old brain. So yeah, that's what's happening over here. Is Katie doing anything right? Are you kind of like working on anything, or just kind of hanging out, or what have you guys?
Really bad at hours, so I tried a couple things. Like I tried some finger weaving, and it was a little too hard. I was getting frustrated. I did this plate weaving thing, and it is like I was thinking, like, yeah, it's very similar to that, where it's kind of soothing because it's simple for someone on that skill, that this stuff.
Yep.
And it's full, and it's so it's nice.
Oh, we lost you as you walked back, but that was a really fun thing that you showed us. Very simple, and it is, right. There's a certain rhythm to it that can be very soothing and very really helpful in becoming a bit more just mindful of where you're at and what you're doing at that time, that kind of thing. Thank you for that. I'm glad you're working on that. You guys have anything else up your sleeve that you want to share with us?
There's a couple other pieces, I guess, just going off of weaving.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, like, and weaving again, right? I mean, just think of all the clothes that we wear, right? I mean, weaving from way back, folks would have to collect the natural fibers, be it off of animals or off of agriculture. You'd have to process them either through beating or not beating the animals. No, you'd have the fibers. Yeah, so make the hemp, that kind of thing, right? The sheep you'd have to shear, and then you'd have to card the wool and make thread and wool and all that kind of stuff, yarn out of it. So very, very laborious time, a lot of time needed to work on all these things, but that's how we stayed clothed. That's how we all survived to this point, right? So so please show us what you got over there.
Yeah, even just quickly to just rip off that, like, style or colors, like we have some really great painting colors.
Oh yeah.
You wouldn't see things like that typically back then.
No, that's true. Yeah, I mean, science and chemistry has really helped brighten up the contemporary world. But yeah, very true.
So for me, we have a couple of examples. We, as an organization, we partner with the Paper Weaver Skills. We actually host them on site to do workshops, things like that. Currently, but when we're not in COVID status, we did grab a couple of things that they've done here to kind of show you.
Wonderful.
We're a little bit, obviously, amateur weavers, but these weavers are quite skilled and have been at it for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Examples of weaving.
Oh wow.
Bring them closer again.
Oh great. All different patterns.
Yes.
Very lovely. So so obviously it's an educational piece, right? Because they have tags, I guess, for each of the patterns that they're showing us.
Yeah, so I'm believing it's a sampler education type piece to get the.
Yeah.
So we have things like a rumbler rose with tabby in this blue here. There's an undulating twill with tabby in this kind of red line in the center of the camera there.
Oh, that's great.
Flower would be this kind of pattern.
Huh. What about in the darker one that was there? What was that? This darker one right here at the end, yeah.
This is just straight king's flower.
King's flower. That is a wonderful contrast. Gorgeous.
This one, so
Yeah, and when you consider the time it would take to do even like the simplest thing like a placemat or a rug, we're talking by the time you figure out your patterns and thread the looms and you know, we're talking more than half an hour. We're probably talking to at least a couple of weeks, right? To get things
absolutely.
done. Yeah. So
If
again,
you look at the work that they do, this is very small. I'm showing you a small piece right now, but they
Right.
do
yeah.
like giant work on floor looms.
Yeah.
They have looms.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, like I wonder if even a lot of contemporary people realize how their fabric for their clothing is even made, right? I mean to thread the, I mean thanks to the Industrial Revolution, there are, textile fabricating machines, I suppose, that do all the weaving that a human would do on a loom, but just exponentially faster and on a larger scale and thankfully humans were smart enough to kind of figure that out so that we're able to purchase fabrics and create fashions and use fashion even as a statement, right? As a personal statement.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So another example. This one's a bit bigger, but again, not to bring it to snow, but
Woo! I think it would definitely melt really quickly today. That is gorgeous as well. Looks like a interesting inverse of the pattern on the back side.
yeah.
So, and again, which is the front, which is the back, right? So like a double weave kind of process going on. So yeah, all these processes, right? So much expertise and so much curiosity that's needed to propel oneself forward to experiment with materials and experiment with processes so that more and more innovation happens, right? And all pretty wonderful stuff. Woo! That's, oh wow. That is very fine thread. That is lovely.
Should I get nice and close?
Oh, that's a really nice. That's a very nice pattern. Now, is this work that the guild has left at the museum to be cataloged, or is this just work that people in the guild are working on at any one time?
A bit of both. They
Yep.
have stuff they leave here to continuously work on. They have
Okay.
display examples as well, so things to kind of show the process as they're working through it.
Right.
And then something upcoming that we're going to be announcing is that we're actually going to be having the exhibition space, so the weavers will have a place to display some of their work more to the public.
Ah, very good. Very good.
Once
Nice.
that happens, we have to split some of the stuff.
Oh, you've cut out there. You have to get a little closer and tell us again because you're just garbled. I hate to tell you.
Once we're open and everything's back to normal and we have it all set up, I would just encourage you all to see some of the stuff they do. I just have a very small selection here, but on different sizes of looms, they have different projects going on. They also offer workshops and classes, so you can get a sense of that. And yeah.
That's pretty wonderful. It's wonderful to have a community partner like that is born of these ancient methodologies and bringing them into the contemporary sphere and made accessible to the general public like that. And that's really, really wonderful. Wonderful way to continue knowledge and share traditional methods and bring them into contemporary times. So that's pretty awesome that they're partners with the museum as well.
Yeah, and it's great because they offer, like I said, they do offer workshops on different types of weaving, different styles.
Mm-hmm.
And it harkens back to the history that was in here.
Yeah.
You know, and the community, what was it, and so.
Yeah, that is pretty great. Very cool.
One last thing that kind of goes with that.
Okay.
They do a rag rug workshop here.
Okay. Oh,
So this is a rag rug.
that is great. So, okay, so just for folks who might not know, a rag, oh, hopefully you know, but when you say rag rug, are they strips of fabric torn up?
Yeah, so it's typically, like, historically, it would be pieces of fabric, like leftover scraps, things that you didn't want to waste or get rid of, but that were probably too small to turn into something.
Okay.
So you would save them, you would ball them up, and then you're weaving those strips back with the loom to make a rug. There's also different methods of kind of like what you're doing, tying
Right.
coil together, which is also a way to make baskets. You can do the other type of rag rug where it's like a little chain one where they stick up to burlap portion.
Okay. Pretty gorgeous. That's wonderful. And I guess it's probably not fair to ask, but just in case you have an inkling, any thoughts as to when the museum might be open to the public again? Any word?
We have provincially been given for June 12th. I think we are waiting to see how that rolls out and keeping health and safety of our staff and then our visitors in mind. So
Sure.
it's something currently kind of examining and looking at and making sure that any guidelines are required. I need to. I'm hoping later it's been really quiet and lonely here because I was our visitors. But as of right now, we haven't been in.
Oh, so as of right now, you're still kind of holding, and we'll find out maybe by the end of June, perhaps we might be. We'll know more, basically, right? Let's just keep it at that. We'll know more in the days to come. Good. Well, that's hopeful, at least, right? Very good. So thank you. That is really awesome that the two of you came and hung out for a bit. I think. Oh wow, yeah, we've had you on for like almost 45 minutes. That's pretty good. That's all right. So, yeah. Is there any more that you'd like to share, or you guys are good to go, or whatever you feel like? It's all very loosey-goosey.
I kind of shared all the stuff that we spoke. If
Okay.
you have questions, you can stick around and ask questions. You can just chit-chat if you want.
Okay. Well, yeah, we can carry on till Instagram runs out, which is going to be in another 10 minutes or so, or 15 minutes. So, yeah, feel free to work on something if you'd like. Keep your eye out for any questions. Okay, you've got questions. Go for it. Can you see them? Are those moccasins on the table?
Yeah, always skip those.
Oh, well then, thank you, Nikki, for seeing those. Okay, let's have them.
Just chat my face off. I'll get you want to get close. Yeah, because they're quite beautiful.
These are like the first things we said.
Oh, wow.
They're really amazing.
Those are. Now, are we looking at painted, or are we looking at sewn, or it's just a little hard to, it's sewn, is it quill work? What are we looking at?
It's embroidered.
It is embroidered.
And then there's like, they're on leather.
Nice.
Wait, leather.
Yep.
And then there's like the fur trim. There's these really like beautiful fur pom-poms and other crap.
Gorgeous. Just
Yeah. And then there's
amazing.
little size from leather here around the ankle.
Love
So
it.
they were high top moccasins, that's what they were. And then we were kind of speculating speculating, like, is this also like an Ojibwe design, which I think it was, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the vamps also are done really beautifully.
Beautiful. And when we're from like we see them from the camera view, right? So the sort of creamy white areas, is that canvas? Is that embroidered as well? Like the background of the flowers?
Yeah, it is canvas. Yeah.
It is. Okay, lovely. Good God, those are just really stunning. Now any idea how old those might be?
1935.
Really?
Yeah.
Those are stunning and kept in such wonderful condition. Do we know, like when a piece comes to the museum, like the moccasins, so they've been there since 1930, well, they were made in 1935? When would they have been given to the museum?
So they've been saved, they're in conserved content.
Okay, gorgeous.
They're given to not at that time.
Okay,
I don't have the exact date as to when they were donated.
okay,
But, yeah, the main date was about 1935.
okay, very good. And often, like when items do come in, look at the beautiful handwork. Oh, the seams, Katie. When you, yeah, like, what are we thinking? Is it sinew that is holding things together? Is it? I wonder. Probably.
Leather strips, and then a little bit of thread, and it looks like that actually might just be the canvas that's like starting to wear.
Oh, that's starting to fray. Gotcha.
I
Yeah.
can't call it like that.
It looks like red. Yeah, I think it's red just due to the date as well. I would probably say that they're
Yeah, there would be, probably cotton thread, silk thread, maybe. Oh my goodness.
Cotton thread.
Yeah,
But typically, historically, you're right, it would be silk.
right, historically, right. But yeah, in the 30s, thread would be available, and and to work on canvas like that, and then I take it the canvas piece is added to the leather, and what a very painstaking process for sure. Gorgeous, really gorgeous work. Oh, you're breaking up. You got to get closer to the phone. Gotcha. So the level of craftsmanship to make something that is so symmetrical and so identical from A to B, from left to right side, is really speaks to the years, right, that somebody would have honed their skills, and that they knew their art in and out so well, which is really wonderful. I'm glad the museum ended up having those. That's a wonderful piece to have in your collection for sure. It is unfortunate that a lot of work that the person who made it, it's probably rare that you actually find out who you like. It's actually rare to find out who created the piece, right? Like that's the thing that's which is kind of too bad, because history sort of goes without knowing what's going on here. Yeah.
Yeah, to find the creator is always a bit difficult unless they're the person that's donating it to the museum.
Right.
Or the collector or person who had it before has a good record.
Right.
Otherwise which is unfortunate, especially going back to a lot of that really skilled craft where you might find these beautiful pieces, but I might not know who made it.
Yeah, yeah.
How someone, and I know that, but I don't know who the skilled person was that spent their time to actually sit down.
Right, and and that's always the. I mean, I would imagine a lot of folks who work in archives and museums and dealing with artifacts. You're kind of like you are detectives to a certain degree, right? Trying to figure out where things came from, who did what, try to see if they all belong to a certain kind of school of training, that kind of thing, right? Yeah, which is in and of itself a really interesting aspect of your job, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of like detective work.
Totally, yeah. Which is wonderful. Very wonderful. Well, thank you for that. That was a really lovely collection of work that you've shown us. Yeah, we've got another 10 minutes, I think, before Instagram needs to get reloaded and all that kind of stuff. Sorry? Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah. It's always good to have show and tell.
This one is kind of fun. It's a wool weaving kit.
Woo.
So again, trying to kind of make that art practice or that craft practice more accessible this is made for children. So
Yeah.
I guess going to start learning young and being able to carry that practice forward.
Wow.
Which is kind of fun. It's pretty vintage.
Now we're seeing it in its inverse. What does it say on the box? Whoa.
Zoom for lengths up to 5 feet with full instructions and a pattern book.
Wow. Okay. That is pretty cool.
This is again 1950, so
that's great. Yeah, and probably a lot safer than a chemistry set.
Yeah, I would probably be better with these than
Yeah. Let's not blow ourselves up as children. Yes. Yeah.
I guess what I can just show you is, I know when we talked about beading, we were looking at a lot of the glass kind of beads, like in this piece here.
Yes. Gorgeous. Just stunning. Yeah.
But
So nice.
typically, I guess historically going back, those aren't always what you're seeing beads made out of.
Okay.
We end up seeing beads made out of shells, of pearls, of coral, of things like that, before we ended up reaching the point of colonization.
Right.
Which at that point is when we really start to see the introduction of the glass beads. So they were originally created as a trade item, and they were traded for beaver pelts or other kind of items at trade posts. Priests and missionaries would carry them with them and give them as gifts as well. So they really started to kind of spread their way out through, especially northern Ontario and the upper Great Lakes regions.
Right.
Yeah, so normally you wouldn't see them. You might see things, like I said, like pearls or shells, some maids, which you could also string up and use as a decorative.
So this here, for folks who are sort of looking at through two different cameras, that was a jar full of colored corn, right? Like it's a naturally growing colored corn, which is referred to as maize, right?
It has different colors. There's purples, and I'm trying to figure out. Here we go.
Oh yeah, here it is. A little bit better. Yeah. Reds, greens, oranges. Really, really intense, wonderful color. That's gorgeous. Yeah. Now I wonder, that kind of corn, would it be edible as well?
Yeah, so it's the typical indigenous corn of kind of the area, so very similar to how we use flour they would have used it, so it would have to be ground.
Okay.
Corn flour,
Nice.
tortillas, cornbread, meal, things like that.
Okay. That's
You
like,
can cook it and eat it. It tastes a bit different. The texture is a little different. Than normal. I equate it more to like a Dorito or a Tostito, kind of a flat bread.
right. Neat. Oh, that's very cool.
But beautiful.
Yes, very beautiful. I was going to say, Nikki here has stated something about lawn darts. So Nikki, are we talking about the ears of corn could be used as lawn darts? I've now kind of lost the thread, but it's a really interesting comment you've made. So I'm really curious. If you could explain, that would be really cool. And if not, if you want to leave us all, you know, wondering about that, that's fine too. But it's just kind of lost the thread on that one. Neat.
Might have been talking about like having this as a kid or a chemistry.
That's it. That's it. Thank you for your keen memory. Yes, better, right. Better a weaving kit than lawn darts or a chemistry set. That's right, exactly. Good God. Yeah, I'm sure there's a number of people with big holes in their feet from the lawn darts. Yep. It was safer than a kid. Yes, thanks. We finally figured it out, Nick. Oh my God. Woof. It's all coming back to me now. So yeah, that's pretty neat. I don't know. What else do I have to ask you? Do you have anything to ask me? There you go. How's that? Nothing. Okay.
You show us how close your feet or your wrapped and your hemp wrap thing.
Oh, the hemp. Yes. Okay. So, okay. I think. Whoa. Okay. So I'll show Instagram first. Oh, that's a little too close. So the idea would be, ultimately, can you kind of see that? Is that kind of, yeah? So it would be a form of adornment. One can use it as a necklace kind of thing. The hemp cord is pretty, I mean, the hemp was in a ball, so it's very, very coily. It's very bouncy. But once you start smoothing it out with the, I've used a black cotton cord as well to kind of give it a little bit of depth, a little bit of thickness down here. So also to kind of give it, sort of help straighten out some of the coiling that's happening from the original hemp. And so yeah, it could be used, once it's finished, it could be embellished with beads of some sort perhaps, or any kind of decorative elements, and then used, maybe, the idea too might be kind of cool to do like multiple cords together, so that it would be like a number of necklaces, let's say, or ropes probably a better way to put it, that one could wear around the neck, or as bracelets or something like that kind of thing. And it's interesting because way back when I was doing textile studies at Concordia, one of our assignments was actually to make our own rope. So we would take all these different disparate materials and work with it. And I once actually used wire as an element with the cord and the cotton. And that was really kind of fun, because then you ended up doing all kinds of spirals and different kinds of interesting shapes. And it was methodical. Like it was the kind of thing that I anyway would have to, I would have to put hours aside just to be able to, it is very painstaking kind of work. In contrast to, this is, whoa, okay, here we go. This, in contrast to this, which is a beaded bracelet. So this, whoa, when you're talking about seed beads, these are the seed beads that, whoa, let's see, there, I think it's in better focus there. Can you see it there? Yeah. So this has that black cord, it says black cord in the center, that kind of stuff, right? And actually it's probably, I think it's triple cord, triple cord then double cord. And then seed beads are sort of sewn in a peyote stitch. It's kind of like a ladder spiral kind of thing that happens. So this took, I think, probably most of April to work on, right? Yes, it is a peyote stitch. Yes, it's a single peyote stitch, Nikki. I was kind of getting tired with the one stitch at a time kind of business, and tried to do, there's a two bead peyote stitch. And I did manage to make, I think, a ring or something like that with that, and then I just forgot how to do it. So it's that kind of thing. You have to repeatedly do it, or for me anyway, or I just forget and it's gone, right? So yeah, so this I find really meditative, and I find too that it's nice to have the black cord as a central support, because otherwise, if I try to do the peyote stitch without a central cord, I end up with this misshapen, ooky, nasty, icky I think it's icky. It's fun color-wise, but it's just like, bleh. It's a little too squishy for my liking. And it's still, you know, supposed to be a bracelet kind of thing. Oh! So unfortunately, I was talking too much, and it, Instagram has, we'll do the title later. Okay, so now I have to do a little bit of, I gotta do a title. Okay, we're doing we're doing beauty, we're doing self-care. Okay, so sorry folks, as I talk to myself and try to get this to work. I'm tending to Instagram over here, and it's now uploading to IG. So Will and Kate, if you can hear me, you're now on IG, and which is IGTV, and we are back. So I don't know, maybe they're still there, maybe they have disappeared. Sorry folks, I should have been paying attention instead of just blathering away. But we just had Will and Kate from the museum. They showed us some really beautiful beadwork, and yeah, I was just talking about some beadwork that I was working on. Maybe they will come back. Maybe we will see them again. And I'm just trying to wave at people here. So yeah, so we will. There they are. They are back. I need to apologize. Let's get them. Okay, let's get the museum back. Sorry guys. Oh, they're back. They might come back. We're waiting for the Sault Museum to. Sorry about that. See, I start talking. I wasn't paying enough attention to the time, and then boom, you're gone. But yeah, so this is a freehand peyote stitch bracelet that is empty inside, so it keeps collapsing, and it probably collapses because. Thanks for coming back, folks. Oops. I think it keeps collapsing because all the beads they're seed beads, but they're not necessarily evenly created, if that makes sense, right? So yeah, seed beads are not all created equal, and the multicolored ones were kind of like that cheapo pack that you can get at whatever discount store you can. So they're glass, but they are like, some are like 1 millimeter, some are 3, like you don't know what the heck you're getting. And often I just work because I like the color, so I'll just put the color in and go, holy cats, I've just now made it really hard to add another bead because the hole is too big, and it's just like, But peyote stitch, you're doing one bead at a time, you're doing it in a spiral, and it takes a long time. Which, you know, if we're talking slow art, if we're talking intentional meditative processes, this will do it for you. Peyote stitch is really great that way. And I was actually taught by a woman who I met at the Algoma Treatment and Remand Center. She came to stay at the center for, she was there almost a year. And she was the most amazing beader, and she had learned as a young girl from her elders, from her grandmothers. And she taught us well how to do the peyote stitch, and she was doing these really elaborate three-dimensional dream catchers, multiple sides, multiple, just all different colors, all different kinds of hanging aspects that were all beaded, just really, really stunning stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of traditional work out there, and folks are amazing craftspeople and amazing artists. And yeah, very grateful to live in the region that we live in, because we are surrounded and contribute and work with so many very talented people here in town and outside town, in the region, and that sort of thing. So it's pretty great. And it's wonderful to see the museum has such a wonderful collection too of artifacts that are beaded and from folks. I would hope that the moccasins would be from the region. Is that what we're thinking? Perhaps? Like, yeah.
I believe.
Yeah. Because the purse definitely looked like a very sort of traditional kind of Ojibwe flower design, that kind of thing. So that's what I was hoping. Same with the moccasins. Oh, Nikki has told us that she learned the peyote stitch first and is grateful for that, because if I had learned the wrap style first, I might have given up on peyote. For sure. because you can do peyote stitch. It doesn't all have to be spiral at all. There's a flat peyote stitch that you can do, that bracelets, barrettes, hat bands, belts, anything flat, any kind of decorative thing that you want to work with. And it's once you get the hang of it, you just keep going. It's great. Like you just don't stop. It's I think Nikki's a real testament to that. You just keep all kinds of variations on a theme, right? It's pretty awesome. So yeah. So thanks for asking about the beading. Thank you. Yeah. I'm gonna try and put this back on. See how that works. And yeah, thank you. And I'm just gonna keep embroidering. I'm just gonna see if that. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting as a painter, moving towards working with fiber and working with thread, because of the time frame it takes, right? I mean, here again is something that I started over a year ago, and I think probably I got frustrated with how to deal with the sky aspect, right? And just exactly how much more green and all this kind of, like, just because you're constantly making decisions, right? And that's part of the whole thing about using creativity as a process in terms of self-care, because you're kind of making micro decisions all the time, and which is different than you might have to do at work, let's say, or you might have to deal with when you're dealing with family, or dealing with who's making dinner and all this kind of stuff. But when you're working creatively, there's probably more of an emotional impact in terms of your relationship to the color and the shape and that sort of thing that might kind of drive the decisions, maybe that kind of thing. I don't know. Just a thought, right? So why do people create anyway? Right? Maybe, do you have a thought on that, Mr. Museum Director guy? Did I put you on the spot? I'm so sorry. Not really. But anyway.
I would agree. I think in art and creating, you're expressing something more than often that you wouldn't normally, I guess, be able to express, or express in the method that you're doing it in. So by making, creating, or by sharing that you've made and created.
True. Yeah.
That's a tough question.
Well, I mean, it is interesting. I mean, I think if we work with the whole idea that creative expression is quite literally the reflection of our times, right? That artists are the ones holding up the mirror to themselves and everyone in society at large, and so we're always, commenting, and there is that philosophy that all art is political, all things political is art. I mean, there's that kind of idea as well. So yeah, it's definitely food for thought and food for discussion, and folks have been trying to figure it out for years. And I don't know if there's I don't think that there's only one answer. Because, I mean, there's not just one type of person in the world either, right? So we're all unique, we're all different. So our reasons for creating are just as complex as we are, probably. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And too, because we, or galleries, have the opportunity to take those works and then play them in creative or interesting ways, or ways that might share more information about them. I think that's an interesting intersection that museums and art galleries are kind of crossed over on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Oh, I've discovered this about creating my beadwork. It is way more enjoyable if I just make a thing and have all the freedom for that to be whatever it is from this tiny idea in my head. But when I am commissioned to do something, for me it is almost painful. Yes, Katie's in agreement, as well as am I. Yes. Oh yeah. Commissions are hell. Okay, let me just put it out there. 4 simple letters: H-E-L-L. Hell. Yes. And why are they hell? Well, they are, because you have to deal with someone else's expectation of what is being created, right? And the same for Shelley, right? Same for me. So horrid it is, because you don't know what's in that person's head as to what they see. They've asked you to make something, and it does suck the joy out of art making, because you are constrained by the expectations at the other end of the receiving line, right? Like, yeah, it is the worst feeling in the world. Yeah, we should just be able to make whatever we want. And then you just come and buy it if you really want it, or, just let us gift it to you. Either way, like something like that, right? That would be better. Hey, Shada, how are you? So yeah, like there's all that. It's yeah. Oof. Tricky stuff. Exactly. Yeah. Any other thoughts out there, folks? Anybody else? Maybe folks are doing watch parties. I think that's always kind of a cool idea. Oh hey, Andy. Oh, hi. So we started this all off talking about radical self-care, and we're talking this is more than taking a bubble bath, but this is about using creativity as a way to help oneself connect with the mindfulness within ourselves, within the to take a look at the struggle within, to recharge our batteries, especially in tumultuous times. So if you've been out protesting and have joined this weekend, the Sioux had a wonderful Black Lives Matter rally. If you've been sort of watching what's been happening in the States and around the world and in Canada, and sort of feeling a little overwhelmed or a little intense, there are different ways of protesting, and one way is to take care of oneself, because by taking care of oneself, you are in turn truly taking care of others, because you're recharging your batteries, you're making yourself, you're telling yourself to slow down, focus, get healthy, find some clarity, and then in that essence, the clarity can then help you move forward and help you sort of regain your focus, especially if you're dealing with so many other people in complicated situations and things like that, right? Like, it's easy to get overwhelmed and sort of forget that you don't have to do it all. And I think the actual term radical self-care was born out of was born, I think she was around in the 60s, and it was coined as a way to say to folks who were actively protesting, you got to step back, you got to take care of yourself so you can take care of others. And if you aren't able to take care of yourself first, you're not going to be of much use to other people as you join the fight, right? So for whatever cause. So it was Audre Lorde, black feminist activist, and she was directing her comments to a lot of women, especially in the black community, where women were often expected to be everybody's mama, right? Everybody's caretaker, and not to look after themselves at all. And the resistance and the protest was, no, I'm going to take care of myself, and that's the thing. Nikki is saying something really cool here, and good Lord, I'm not the same person I was 3 years ago. Oh, I think the biggest thing that happened for me through creating is that I literally can't believe my hands and mind that created so much pain and destruction can make such beauty. And I think that's it right there, right? I think, Nikki, you're certainly living proof of the power of creativity and resiliency, right? A very resilient individual. Just, you're on your feet, you're doing your thing. Yes, you admit you've had dark times, and here you are using that darkness really as an area from which to find lots of light. And I think that might be a real positive thing about what we're talking about here today, about how creativity informs mindfulness, or how mindfulness and intention informs our creativity, that kind of thing. If we give ourselves the room, right, to participate. I think that's the other part too. Yeah, I see you nodding your head over there, Will. I see you. Yeah.
The room is sometimes the hardest part, at least for me.
Finding
Busy and finding that time or that fit that in, but I think the process of making and doing and being creative, as you said, is really self-reflective, and you do that just kind of do or clear your mind, and but I think it's an important thing that we should all try to at least do every once.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because like a lot of artists talk about their arts practice, right? And so practice denotes repetition, means practicing until you get good at it. I mean, it's quite literally practice. So there is that, and it is true that we get often, I find, and I gotta say, this has to do with pandemic, has to do with pre-COVID kind of days when it was, I mean, I don't think I'm alone in this. There was a lot of go, 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 and very little thought about the go, 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 right? It was just constantly, I gotta do, and yet, at the end of the day, what had you really accomplished, right? So having been forced into this position, not all, and again, I would say I'm quite privileged to have been forced into this position where I don't have to, I'm not an essential worker, so I don't have to be out in the front line, that sort of thing. So I do recognize I do come from a position of privilege in this. But it's sort of, I actually now look forward to creating when before it was just another to-do thing on the list, right? So it is, like you said, it is very much about making the time, making the space, and making the headspace. So I think it's the headspace gets so crowded that we never, we just don't pay attention. And before you know it, we've forgotten who we are, what we're about, and all that kind of stuff. And things get ugly at that point. So, yeah. So this is good. This is good. Yeah. Any other thoughts out there, folks? Not really sure what's happening on the Facebook side. If anyone's got questions, thoughts, folks on. Oh, this has been wonderful. I'm glad my phone was in my hand when you all went live. My sister is here. Oh, from Perry Sam. That's so great. Gotta go. Moppy and Migrich for being here. Take care and enjoy your visit with your sis. Oh, and here's Shell. I've had to step away from all of the horrible news to a degree. I've been listening, around the clock, and I was becoming so sad all the time. Instead, taking time to listen to nice music, and let's see if we get some. Oh, I think it's gonna come. Trying to see if it's gonna. Oh, there we go. Nice music and make things. Crochet, archives, and carving. So fun. Yeah, Shelley does some really beautiful wood carvings, like big in like tree trunk type of things. Very, very substantial kind of pieces. But yes, I think you're right on with the turning things off, right? Like the news feed. I mean, yes, we're America's neighbor, but please, do we really need to be keeping such close tabs on them? Really? But these are important times, though, right? I mean, we've had 11 days of protests, and this is history changing something huge, right? And this is wonderful that we are here, able to support, be present. But again, like we said at the onset, this is overwhelming at the same time, right? So it is very important to step back and make a conscious effort to turn it off and sort of reboot ourselves, doing things that feed the soul as opposed to chip away at who we are, that kind of thing, right? So good points, all good points, Shelley, definitely. Yeah, it's interesting times we live in, for sure. Yeah, just intense. But I gotta say, I'm grateful to live in these times right now. This is an interesting time. I'm glad too that the museum is working on capturing what is happening during this time frame in terms of the COVID diaries or the COVID. I'm not sure quite what to call it, but the whole, sort of like almost like a time capsule, right, of what's happening, right? Which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, we're going to be doing the announcement more officially soon, but
Right.
We're looking, collecting the history of COVID and how it's affected the community of St. Marie and how the community's responded to it and things like that. I know it's a sensitive issue and it's still happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a project that we're going to keep open for a while.
Great.
And opening up on our website, we'll have ways to share, kind of reflect back on some of it, and then hopefully that archive of the history of us.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Yeah, because really, I mean, there needs to be some sort of document of what's been going on, right? And beyond the news, beyond the news cycle, right? Isabel has a Isabel Michaud. What is the information about that? The journaling, is that? I think you might be talking, Isabel, about. I'm not really sure what you're talking about, but I think are you asking us about the COVID sort of? I use the word diary. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a journal or a diary sort of thing. It's more like a documentation of what people have been up to, doing, how they're processing the pandemic. Yes, I think that's what it is. Yes. So I think the museum will be making an announcement soonish about an overall larger project that we can all contribute to. Kind of, yes, like if perhaps, like you're doing a lot, Isabel, you're doing a lot of your own processing of the pandemic, right? Like the works that you shared with the Archive, I think last time, a lot of them had I think the work all had to reflected on dealing with quarantine and that sort of thing. So those kind of works, and actually the hives that we are filming right now or that we're streaming, they'll all be saved somehow, right? And the museum will keep them, and they'll all be part of a digital archive, maybe that's the better word, of how people are relating to, dealing with, documenting, functioning during these months of being locked in, isolated, perhaps for some, and a lot of people who will be interested in that. Good to hear. That is very good to hear. That, I think I agree with you too, Isabel. I think there are probably a lot of folks who might not even know that what they're doing is something that could be could contribute to an overall archive, right? Like, and it's interesting too. Like on ArtSpeaks Facebook page the other day, I posted something about how they're using art therapy processes to help frontline workers process the trauma that they have had to deal with, right? I mean, you got to think about it. People who are in larger centers, especially where they've had to deal with a lot of death and a lot of uncertainty, but even here, right, front line workers who have to deal with a lot of judgment from people, perhaps, or just the fear of bringing COVID home to their families, that kind of stuff, and the fact that this little virus has so much control over who we are and what we do. So they're using art therapy as a way to help folks process. And a community member wrote on the posting saying that they found themselves responding to creativity instinctually as a way to help themselves process the PTSD that they were dealing with in their own history, kind of thing. And I think it's, if we go back to that whole question about why do we create, art making as we know it is a way to bring forth that which we don't have words for, quite literally, right? It's the sensations and the knowledge and the internalized experience that we just couldn't figure out how to explain if we had to. And I think art sometimes is the way of giving it, giving it a voice and honoring it, that kind of thing. Honoring our internal existence, our internal lives. And here I am lecturing again. Okay, so someone has to say something. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad to hear. Glad to hear. Yeah. That's very funny.
But yeah, stay tuned for our announcement about that, because what we are looking for is that, I guess, to what Isabel was saying, that kind of personal, first-person kind of experience to it. I mean, we can always go back and Google the history, news of how COVID affected people, but how it affects people personally, I think, is something that is most important for us to collect. So we're looking for things like journals or doodling, taking pictures, or making videos. So it'll be a digital kind of art.
Wonderful. No, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and why not, right? It is amazing that we live in such miraculous times, and we need to use the the technology in a way to help that helps ourselves instead of causing detriment, that kind of thing. So yeah, we just got a little bit of embroidery going on here. Little house hanging out on a hill. Fireworks. Woohoo! Yeah. Sorry? Yeah, it's a little house on stilts. Yeah. Yeah, I done a number of pieces there. Ooh, from years ago. Yeah, I think we had a show called Prototypes, long time ago, and it was a collection of work from different folks in the area. And yeah, I've been working with this idea of the house on stilts probably since I was able to tour Europe way back when I was in art school. But I went to OCA. So Ontario College of Art used to have thumbs up. Used to have a fourth year where you could, you'd pay tuition in Canada, but you would end up in Europe, in Florence, Italy, and then you could travel, right? And so I'm so much older than you guys that when I went, it was dirt cheap. It was like crazy dirt cheap. It was cheaper to be in Europe for a year than it was to live in Toronto for a year at that time. So, so I just remember being on the train, yeah, and we had these Eurorail passes, right? We were all like in our early 20s, and I just remember being on these trains and just town after town after town, and then there was these fishing villages would go by, and they would have these houses over the water on stilts with ladders that would often get up to the little house. And but obviously because of the tide would come in and out, that kind of thing, right? So you had to be high up enough. And yeah, and so I just always really was fascinated with that idea of the house. And the house, if you sort of look at psychology, the house is a symbol of the self, right? So the self, so having it on stilts, kind of like giving it legs, that kind of thing. So it's above the rising tide. Maybe is it sinking in? Is it about, that kind of thing? And at one point too, I remember making them in response to friends having passed, and thinking that they were sort of containers of the spirit, that kind of idea too. So when I did an installation at, I was part of a group show. This installation I did at the Archeology of Algoma, I took a number of birdhouses and put them on stilts, and had them secured in these pots that were full of seeds and nuts from this region, kind of thing. And each house had certain meaning behind it and constellations and all this kind of stuff. It got really kind of complicated, but yeah, one of those 4 houses were definitely a spirit house in that regard. So yeah, so it's just just something that I've always really liked, and it's an image that I just can't seem to not work on. So speaking again about the internal dialogue, right? The internal environment that we have, right? We have these images, these symbols that we live with, and sometimes working creatively is a way to sort of make sense of what those things are. So that's where this little guy came from. And then he's been in a chocolate finger cookie tin for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years, which was not fair. I should have worked with this piece sooner. So, and now I'm embroidering with rainbow thread, which is kind of interesting because that's how all this kind of stuff is happening up here. Like it's all multicolored. Sort of like the cheater's way of making things multicolored. So it's kind of fun. But I digress. Anything else you guys got to say? Nothing else going on? Anything else that you're working on right now? Did you finish your plate winding by any chance? Thanks, Isabel. Woohoo! That was great.
It's not very like structurally sound. I think that if I took it off the plate, it would just fall.
That's okay. But maybe the plate needs to be part of it.
I need a little.
Oh, cool. Well, that's lovely. Nice. See, there you go. See, it's kind of doodling with thread, right? That's kind of cool because you're listening and talking. Shelley has a question for you. When we think of how wonderful it would be, come back. When we think of how wonderful it would be to know of experiences of the folks who lived through the Spanish flu, it tells us how interesting our digital record will be to folks 100 years from now. Oh, and Shelley says, so pretty. And Isabel says, that's very nice, Katie. And someone else just said, awesome. Thank you. So, yes. So that is, there you go. Good point. I'll let you sort of go off with that one.
Yeah, so I guess the whole kind of thing that really propelled this project forward is, it's being examined by a lot of people from the world and across the province, but it was really looking for that history on the Spanish flu and trying to find that personal story. And unfortunately, I guess the way that collecting was at that time, we don't have a lot of that information. I think we have a few minor artifacts, maybe a news clipping, but it's that personal information that we're missing on how people respond to, how people react to it. Are another thing we don't have much information on how people hear responding and reacting to that. I can Google how where the statistics or how people had it normal, but we don't. So I think it's important for us to really look at current moments on the screen, how we act from that for this moving on.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, right? To yeah, because human existence is more than the stats, right? So it's important that folks, especially if we have tangible evidence of existence, especially during these times, that the evidence exists, and to frame it right within this time frame, right? Like, and so we're saying there's pre-COVID, then there's COVID, and then we don't know yet when post-COVID will even start to exist as a time frame, right? So the whole COVID time frame could go on for a while, right? Like, we could be talking more than a year, right? So, and then how many more viruses will we have to deal with, or who knows what else we're going to have to deal with, or that kind of thing. So there is that. So yeah, good for you guys for sort of taking lead on this, because I think it's really important, especially for a community our size, to have a history like this to look back on, right? Yeah. And what is the role of the museum other than exactly that sort of whole idea, right? To reflect back to us what our history is in the making, even. So it's pretty awesome. So yeah, so I'm sure folks will be looking forward to your announcement, and yeah, encouraging their friends to participate, and I think we're going to have a lot of time to contribute to it. Yeah, because and really too, right? This is at the 12th, right? We start with phase 2, stage 2 in the Sioux anyway, right? And then we kind of hold our breath and see what happens with the numbers. We've been pretty lucky. We have all 21 cases resolved, so that's really pretty cool, that we know of, right? So we still have about 400 tests that need to be reviewed, and we need to hear from. So, but still, let us hope, right, that we're marching forward in all this.
Yeah.
Hey, did something just bing? I'm hearing binging. What the heck's going on? Oh, it's okay. No, it's alright. I have no idea. Technology makes these noises. I can't even tell you what's going on. So yeah. So, if you'd like to go, you can go. If you'd like to stay, you can stay. Whatever works.
I was just going to see if there are questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will leave you alone. Okay. Let's see if anyone has anything to ask Will and Kate. They're from the museum. And again, this is our Cyber Hive. We will be back in 2 weeks. Actually, I'll be back with Chandra. And we're doing a special Pride Hive sponsored by the Vilna Family Services. So hopefully that'll be fun. I think we're going to work on the idea of identity and work on collages and journals and things like that. So, and that'll be interesting too, to see if folks, have their works photographed to add to the archive. You never know, right? Oh, that's the other thing too, for anyone who's out there who's working along with us. I think I posted this on Facebook, but I'll reiterate it right now. Please send us photos of the work that you're working on, and it can be work that you're working on your own. It doesn't have to be something that you've worked on at this moment. But yes, please send it to us at the Art Speaks Project, and we'll be sure to post it online and give you credit, obviously. And we're at theartspeaksproject@gmail.com. And I will go online and list that again. So please feel free to send images of work that you're working on, and any kind of thoughts. It could even be things that you're writing, that kind of stuff. And we have a question. Okay, big one. Okay, here we go. I'm worried for little children who are in their formative years during COVID. I'm wondering how they will be as adults in regards to germs, proximity to folks, fear of sickness, etc. I wonder what, and there's more, I wonder what children have to say about COVID-19, 4 to 7 years old. It's an interesting time frame too, really. Because some of those kids, 4 years old, you're starting to know what the world's about, right? You miss your friends. You're with a mommy and daddy. You probably don't get to hang out with grandma and grandpa very much. That if you're lucky to have. So there is all that kind of stuff. Anyone's got thoughts out there that they'd like to share with us? Or not. That's okay. There's lots of time to send in thoughts, send us pictures, let us know how little ones are dealing with stuff. Yeah, still working on a bit of the sky here, folks. Working. I gotta say, one nice thing about working with the tablet and the phone is just the seeing things in reverse. So seeing the mirror image and then seeing things inversed, which is really kind of neat. Oh, Shelley's taking us off the hook. Just something she's wondering about. It's okay if we don't have an answer. Thanks, Shell. But you're right. It would be interesting to know, right? What do little ones think about all this? How are they going to do? How are they going to be after all this is over? If it ever is over, right? So there's that. No. So folks, we're at 1:40. We have about 15, maybe 16 minutes left. So hopefully you're all working away, and please be sure to send in your pictures of what you've worked on. And also, June 24th will be our next art hive. And again, we'll be doing a Pride Hive in support of Pride Month, and in support of Algoma Family Services, which is doing Pride activities all month, which is pretty cool. And I'll be joined then by Chandra Barnett. And I think those of you who have been with us before are familiar with Chandra. She was one of the first art mentors. She and Joanne Robertson at the Art Speaks Project, and we'll be again looking at collage and identity and make our own journals, all that kind of good stuff. That kind of things. In the meantime, I'm just going to keep embroidering. I did show you guys earlier the peyote stitch pieces, and really the best way to learn the peyote stitch is go online, go to YouTube, I guess it is, yeah, YouTube, and just Google single bead peyote stitch, and there are so many tutorials, and you can just keep replaying them until you get it. And this is a peyote stitch spiral. So, or cord, that's another way you can kind of look at it. So yeah, for sure. Go online and check it out. All you need, these are seed beads, so they're tiny, tiny, tiny. They're like a size 10. I don't know if you can even, no, you're not even going to be able to see that. Seed beads are quite literally, like Will said earlier, just like a little tiny seed. And these are 10s, and these are a little bit bigger than the 11s. The 11s are even tinier. and if you have any kind of vision problems, stick to the 10s. The 11s, oof, are hard. But they make for beautiful, beautiful work. What I will do, the Art Speaks project follows a number of beading accounts, so I'll be sure to add to our stories links to some of the different beading accounts that are out there. Really, some pretty stellar stuff. And if I don't think Nikki will mind if I kind of share some of her work as well. Let's shamelessly promote one of our own, and not a problem there. And yeah, so the peyote stitch is a wonderful way to sort of get involved in a very meditative, internalized kind of practice, and steeped in a lot of history. And I'm not going to go into the history only because I will probably get it wrong. So, but definitely something to look up. And here's one that was created. This is the first peyote stitch piece that I did, and it's a what do you call that? A lariat? Not a lariat. It's the kind of thing that you put keys on. So it's a lanyard. That's right. Right? Yeah. So this one has got a nice sort of firmness to it because it's got, I think, the black cord in it, which is great because in that way you can add the clips to add the key ring that you would add your key rings that you add your keys to, and these ones, this one was done with uniform beads, so it's all the same type of bead, just different colors of the same type of bead. And so if you take a look, you'll notice that it's much more uniform, and it's definitely a lot firmer. I also, when I add a bead, I pull really hard on it so that it was very tight as I went through, which is not great if you're going to try and actually curve the top of it, right? You want to have a little bit of give, so you want it to be a little bit not too tight when you're working on it. So for sure, this is the first one that I did, which was explained to me in terms of methodology by one of the lovely ladies that I met at the Loan Treatment Remand Center. She was really very talented and was a really good teacher, I gotta say. So yeah, so go to YouTube and look up peyote stitch, and you'll find so many different types of processes. And yeah, she called it a cheater's lanyard kind of thing. Probably because it's a very small one that you would sort of hold in your hand and hold your keys in your hand, and that kind of thing, right? So yeah, so there's that, and bracelet, and here is a peyote stitch piece that I'm actually going to restart just because I'm trying to mix again two different kinds of beads. And personally, I don't know if you can kind of see this. It's a camera. I'm showing Facebook first, but let's see. I guess okay, there you go. You can kind of sort of see it there. I find the spacing is a little too open. It needs to be a little closer together, and because right now it's really, really tight, and I think it's just really, really tight because of the nature of the spacing. And I'm using the silver beads are all the same size, all the same type, but I'm adding these color beads, which are, they're a mess. They're like all different sizes, but they're so much fun because of the color. So I'm adding those in, and I think I just have to restart so that I can sort of add to it a bit more. Like, I think things just need to be shored up a bit and tightened up a bit in terms of structure. But that being said, I'll just show you. It's like super duper crazy easy. You just, hardest part sometimes is grabbing the bead and not flinging it away. But yeah, so the beads have like a bit of a ladder type of process. They're kind of spiraling, laddering. So I'm just going to, every second bead, they add a bead, and they kind of sit on top of each other. And this gets started with an odd number of beads. So it's an odd count. That's important too. You want odd count. Even count has a few extra points, a few extra steps thrown in, which can get a little. I mean, it's fine once you know it. It's just working your way to it just gets a little This gets a little annoying. So yeah, but there you go. Oh, see, now this is why I need to change it, because I think I just need more beads. I started probably with like 11. I probably should have started with 13 beads, because this one is kind of too far over. It needs to be, I know it's hard to tell, it needs to be closer, and it's hard to see because these phones don't actually focus all that great close up. Anyway. But anyway, I will restart it so that way I can show you another time. I'll probably post some photos on Instagram and Facebook once I restart it, that kind of thing. So, and again, this one's got the cord as a base. It'll be a triple strand bracelet. And the thing too, so this is an interesting thing too, is I enjoy making the pieces. I'm not necessarily someone who likes to always wear them. So there's that. It's an interesting way of processing all kinds of thoughts and, on the spur decision making, that kind of thing. But I'm not always thrilled with the results, and so therefore I'm not always into wearing them. And sometimes they end up getting gifted, or sometimes I just keep them and then take them apart and rework them again. So yeah, so things are always evolving. And this piece I'm just going to keep adding to it because I think it needs some. Yeah, so it's interesting working with a cord that's already, it has its own sort of patterning of color. So then I get to sort of, hunt and peck as to where I want each new stitch to kind of go. And I'm just using like a straight, like regular straight stitch. Nothing fancy. There was a few, I don't know if you can kind of, here we go again. Not sure, sorry Instagram, but I'm showing Facebook right now. On the actual body of the house, these are our French knots. So there's this sort of raised, see if you can see it, it's kind of raised kind of thing. So that's like a French knot on top of a French, so a French knot is where you pull the thread through, you make a knot around it, and you sort of go back down, and it creates this bubbly rose-like, sorry, talking too much. Thank goodness for water. Yeah, so it creates this really wonderful kind of rose-buddy kind of little thing. French knots are used a lot for creating either individual tiny little flowers, or I've seen pieces where people have used French knots much like this as a filler kind of thing, and they've done like whole hoops full of French knots but different colors, so they kind of mimic. Well, they mimic just like either fields of color, or you could actually get a sense. There's this one person I know, she works in blacks, so it's really cool. So you have all these different variations of black. It sort of becomes this really interesting kind of undulating kind of landscape, and because it is black, light kind of gets sucked into the piece, and every so often you get some shade and some tonality. It's really a very subtle kind of way of working with something, even though one would say, oh, but it's just black. It's like, well, it's like a rock though. There's a lot of variation within those color field pieces, that kind of thing. So yeah, so there's fun to be had. You just, like we said before, you gotta make space, you gotta make time, and you have to, I think, commit, right, to the whole process. And I am kind of, in a weird kind of way, grateful to this self-quarantine kind of time, because it's forced me to sort of, figure out a few priorities. So, and actually doing the hive is one of the things I certainly do enjoy. I look forward to it, and I hope it's not too boring for folks on the other end. And I hope folks are enjoying what we're doing and what we're offering, because we're just going to keep doing it. So you've been warned. So yeah, so June 24th will be our next And like I said, Chandra and I, we're at 54, 1, 2, 7 minutes left. We'll be back June 24th. And in the meantime, I'll be sure to post the stories, all kinds of beadwork. I'll post some of the accounts I follow too in terms of embroidery, just because, I mean, some of the work that's out there is really, really stunning. Just as the pieces were that you showed us from way back. It's interesting what contemporary artists are doing with very traditional methodologies, right? And that's what you want. You want folks to always be kind of learning and reframing and, you know, constantly pushing the envelope, as they say. So be sure to be doing that. Oh, and this piece here is on canvas. So just bits of canvas from old paintings that were stretched. And a lot of folks too dye their own fabric. I did do some fabric dyeing. So this is what not to do. Here you go. Here is what not to do if you're going to dye some fabric. Okay. So this is canvas to begin with, right? Before I even burned it, because that's what that is. That's a scorch mark, because I didn't put enough water in the dye pot. Yes, I see you smiling and laughing. And yes, you should be, because the stink was horrendous. But it's purple, this light purple, and you can kind of see, you can kind of see the purple. Yeah. This is from red cabbage, right? Red cabbage. So, but before the dye, before the natural color will sink into the canvas or any fabric, you have to prepare it to receive the color. So the canvas first was boiled for an hour or so in water and vinegar. So the vinegar is used as a way of, I think, of preparing, sort of opening up the fibers, right? I think the acid, from what I understand, works to help scour the threads. And then ideally, had I not screwed up the dye pot, I would then, take my vinegar boiled fabric and quickly dunk it into my dye pot, which would have been 2 or 3 hours of simmering on the stove with, it's usually like, let's say I put like a cup of cabbage and maybe 2 cups of water on top, right? You should have like twice as much water as vegetable matter, because it does boil down, right, as time goes on. But I didn't do that. I just put a little bit of water, so I just thought, darker the better. And then I threw in my patch of canvas that had been vinegarized, and lo and behold, we probably would have caught fire at some point, but we didn't. And we have these wonderful scorch marks now that are pretty stellar, I gotta say, for a total screw up. And I know someone who's a textile artist might be looking at this going, whoa, that's a nightmare. But I'm kind of fond of it. I don't mind the burn. And if I could do it again, I probably would. And in the fridge, I do have 2 jars. One has got more of the purple cabbage. I made a whole fresh batch. But it's probably been in the fridge far too long, so I should probably make a whole new batch and re-dye things. And I also took lemons, and apparently you can do the same thing with lemons. So I took lemons, and not the pulp, but the peel. And we eat a lot of lemons around here. Like, we're always using them when we cook, or putting squeeze lemon into water, that kind of thing. So I have a lot of about half rinds, that kind of thing. So chop those up and boiled those for a couple of hours as well. And they create a really interesting yellowy, semi-transparent kind of yellow, which is really kind of cool. So yes, I do need to give that a shot and see how it works in translation on fabric. Yes. So that would be that'll be something to do. And I'm glad I dug this out. So by digging this piece out and sort of reconnecting with what I'm doing here, I'm hoping that'll sort of inform me as to what I might end up working on here, that kind of thing. And and there are a lot of textile people who work with embroidery and thread who use the thread as a drawing medium. So they actually draw with the thread, fill it in with different colors and textures, but actually use thread as a drawing tool, which is kind of cool, I think. So, which is kind of what this is kind of how this started with the drawing of the sculpted house and that sort of thing. But then now it's getting filled in, so it's becoming less of a drawing and more of a painting at this point. Which is still kind of interesting, right? Because there's no paint, but it's got a painterly effect. So there's that kind of thing. So anyway, just fun things, just things to think about, right? Yeah, and summer's kind of a good time, whether you're in lockdown or not, to explore these kind of things. So yeah, not so bad. Ooh, we have 27 seconds left on Instagram, so I'm going to say bye. Take care, Will and Kate. Thank you so much. We will see you again, and enjoy the weekend. I know we're a little bit far away, but enjoy it anyway, okay? And we will catch up with you later. And give us a wave. Bye. So nice having you here. Oh, it's been lovely having you. Take care. Bye. So there we go. Okay, folks. That has been our Instagram feed. So Instagram, I'm now saving what we just did on Instagram and Facebook to our Instagram feed, and so it'll be up there. So I know for those of you on Facebook, it's hard to really hear the whole thing and see what they were doing. So yeah, you can always go to IGTV on the Art Speaks Project on Instagram, and check out our Instagram TV streams, and just sort of see what Will and Katie were showing us from the archives at the museum. Wonderful place. Always fun having them. We'll be sure to connect with them again probably sometime in July, and most likely maybe in August as well. So yeah, the art hives are we're gonna continue as cyber hives as well. I mean, we're just gonna keep on doing it, right? Until the day that we're able to see each other again in person at the museum, and even then, we probably will still continue to offer hives online and in some capacity. So for now, we'll see you every second Wednesday at 5:30 to 7:30 on Facebook and Instagram. And thanks for being out there. And thank you so much for participating. And I hope this finds you well. And in the back of your mind, or even the foreground of your mind, keep self-care as something that needs to be given attention and mindfulness, and allow yourself to have some radical self-care in your lives, so that you can be recharged and just feel more like yourself again. And we'll hopefully catch up with you in a couple of weeks. And yes, if you've worked on anything, or you are working on something outside of archive time, please email pics to theartspeaksproject at gmail.com, and we will definitely post them on our Instagram and Facebook pages. And yeah, so take care, and have a good couple of weeks. And anytime, drop a line, questions, concerns, whatever, themes for future hives, just let me know. Okay, thanks a lot for being here, and take care, everyone.